So are you familiar with a gentleman named Billy Carson? So I've been down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I feel like he is the king of rabbit holes. I feel like he's got the keys to the rabbit holes.
Well, yeah, he basically showed up in my life and said, "Hey, Jamil, here's a rabbit." Threw it down a hole, and now I disappeared down it. And it's been about 2 months, and now I'm not entirely sure about anything in the world anymore. So, are you allowed to talk to us about the possibility of there being ETs, our origins? Is it true that we do come from a race of Anunnakis that came down here to make us, to help them mine for gold so that they could affect their temperature and their atmosphere? Is that real?
Well, I do talk about a lot of this in my book, Creation, actually. So I do. It's called Creation because it talks about the origin of humanity and
souls. Oh, that's a creation story,
right?
Oh my goodness!
Creation.
Wait, can you show us that book again? And where can we buy that book?
It's on Amazon. But creation is all of energy based on what I've learned through the Akashic Records. Akashic Records are what we call soul records. So I do talk about the Anunnaki, the ancient ones. They were some of the first soul groups to come to Earth, some of the first to incarnate here and to use Earth. And there is a story about the Anunnaki taking gifts from humans because they believed that. And so a lot of people kind of see Anunnaki as the slave leaders, and they believe that we are still stuck in slave pattern because they enslaved humanity and stuff, which we, talk about generational pattern and traumas and stuff. The brain is very easy to manipulate, unfortunately, which is why we need spirit, because we have to shatter the brain and get information outside of what we were told, what we were taught, and how we were programmed, right? Because that is what makes us very easily enslaved. So I wouldn't blame the Anunnaki for something like that. I would just say it's kind of like a problem to the system. Sure. And there are a lot of very evolved civilizations outside of the human form. And it's very difficult for them to deal with humans because it's like, we're still fighting each other. We're still trying to kill our neighbor. We're still poisoning our world. We're still blowing up our own land and poisoning ourselves. So for them, they can feel frustrated about some of those things. So they do come on, they do almost like, it's almost like, like if you have a child and you want your child to like eat healthy, you might not have all the patience in the world, especially the way we grew up, right? Like when I didn't eat healthy, my mom smacked the shit out of me. Like she wasn't like, please eat your veggies. They're really good for you. Like she was just like, eat So if we think about thousands of years ago when we were even dumber and more difficult to control, like there is a sense of frustration. Obviously, they weren't super evolved either. They didn't know how to communicate to us. There's communication gaps, communication issues. We're talking about so it does make sense to a degree, but it is a very, very long story. I do talk about the origin of humans and energy and soul groups and all of that stuff, though. And I love those conversations. I think that the better question for people to consider is, it would make absolutely no sense in all of creation itself, in every single galaxy, that we are the only living beings. True. I think that that's more unrealistic than anything else anybody has ever said about aliens. So I would just ask people to consider why that would be real. Because, I think that's harder to explain than it is to explain that there are obviously other living beings somewhere or intelligent life somewhere.
And to think about the diversity of life that's existed here on the planet Earth, right? And what evolution has brought us in just terms of in that complexity and that diversity. How is it possible? How could it be possible? Just with all the permutations and combinations of possibility, it's just doesn't seem at all realistic that we're the only ones. Now, Bobby's eyes glaze over when I start telling him like, "Hey, man, you're an alien." And he's like, "No, I'm not, man. I just like riding BMX bike." So, so is it, do you think there's going to be a time when the government or the establishment comes in and says, "Okay, guys, here's what's up. We've been hiding this from you for so long because we didn't think humanity could take it. But humanity
let me explain something even further, though. And I think everybody needs to understand this part is a lot of the conspiracy theories we have are we want to believe that aliens in alien bodies dropped down from outer space in spaceships and did everything for us. But what we are not actually understanding is that the soul is alien. Our souls are born of the stars, star seeds, right? They're born of the stars. The energy.
That's a real word. That's a real word, star seed, that the Galactic Federation of Light.
It just means of the stars. So we were born
Okay.
of the stars. So we essentially soul groups or beings of the stars. And as the physical matter accumulates in planets and stars, it does create an energetic body or energetic component that starts to create individual expressions of itself. So it's kind of like a physical body, every cell having a memory. We are the cells of the stars in a lot of ways. So we are not all born with physical incarnations or bodies or avatars. So when we see a world that has physical bodies and avatars, everybody gets excited and they go try to inhabit the world. They try to use the world for its resources. They want to play the game. They want to involve themselves. They want to densify their experience. And not all soul groups are compatible to Earth. So on Earth, we have about 20, 30 soul groups at any given point in time that are all different, constructed different, function different, have different goals. So the Anunnaki was just one of many. We do have Earthers, means a souls born of Earth, because Earth is a planet, but it's the smallest soul group currently incarnated on Earth, because Earth is fairly young when we're talking about planets and, other galaxies that are billions and trillions of years old. So the smallest soul group on Earth is Earthers, and most of us are of the stars. So we are, like you said, we are the aliens. We are of another space and place and time. And when we talk to spirit, we're talking to things in the sky, right? We're talking to our soul groups, our higher selves, our families, and we feel very connected to those things. And they advise us and give us information on other incarnations or things we have learned. So this is how we get new information, because if we didn't have any outside source giving us new information, then we would just repeat patterns constantly and walk into walls constantly. And you can see that in people who are not connected. You can see that in people who are not questioning their reality, not seeking source, not praying, not getting information. They're stuck. They keep walking into the same fucking wall over and over and over and over again until somebody's like, you can go left. Did you know you can go left? And they were like, no, I had no idea. Right? So that's how we get new information. We are guided by something beyond ourselves. And that is kind of like what we call our Jiminy Cricket, our God, our soul, our energy field, right? It's different. And this human experience is the anomaly. This is the moment in time that we are trying to learn to master.
Wow. Hey, thanks for watching that clip. Now, this video over here is dope. It's going to give you all the information that you need for cool stuff. This video over here is also pretty good because guess what? I don't make bad videos. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel because my kids watch this and they clown on me because not enough of you hit subscribe.